Hello, my name is Tim Janakis in Niigata, Japan. I'm a singer-songwriter among many other things, also a novelist and a writer of books, of nonfiction books. And I wrote this blog a little while ago and put it on Facebook, and just thought I would put it on YouTube as well because there's so much complete nonsense out on YouTube and other places about my mentor in life, who I consider one of many mentors in my life, Daisaku Ikeda. And of course, I don't agree with everything any one of my mentors says or does, but that doesn't mean they're not my mentor if I don't agree with every single thing. But I really consider him one of my great mentors in life, and this is why my blog, or my writing called Why Daisaku Ikeda is My Mentor. So I'm just going to read it for you guys. From people looking in at the SGI Soka International from the outside, I can fully understand why some may get the false notion that members of the SGI idolize Daisaku Ikeda. Though there are some people in the SGI who don't fully understand how fortunate we are to be born at such a time in history that we could be together with our mentor, Daisaku Ikeda, I feel most people have a pretty good sense of the significance of this time in history. However, there are always going to be those in the SGI who, despite reading President Ikeda's guidance or just hearing it at meetings, don't fully comprehend its profundity. For some, his constant guidance over the decades has gone in one ear and out the other. However, I know if it wasn't for President Ikeda's constant guidance and profoundly positive direction, I would not have continued practicing for as long as I have, and many people practicing around the world feel the same way. I have always been a person very skeptical of all authority figures and very challenging to anyone who claims to know more than me or be an expert in any given subject. However, for most of my life I have always seen my mentor, Daisaku Ikeda, as someone who was not an authority figure to me. He, to me, was always like the coach in the Rocky movies, who pushed me to be the greatest boxer, a boxer better than even he could be. Every time I've gone through a major challenge in my life, sometimes that seemed impossible to overcome, I've always been able to draw on one of my many seemingly impossible things, or I've always been able to draw on one of the many seemingly impossible things that either President Ikeda, Josei Toda, Tsunesaburo Makaguchi, or Nichiren were able to overcome, and I've always realized that if my mentors could overcome their challenges by following them, so could I. Many people in my life, despite reading President Ikeda's writings, who have not fully understand the principle of the oneness of mentor and successor, have often said to me, yeah, President Ikeda or Nichiren could overcome this or that, but you are not them. However, I've always said, yes, I am. This is not a statement of my arrogance. This is because I have read President Ikeda's guidance and the writings of Nichiren with my life, and I have applied them to all aspects of my life. Everyone who follows the guidance of Nichiren, Makaguchi, Toda, and Ikeda can overcome everything that those individuals have and more. If you believe you are somehow inferior to them, you do not understand the oneness of mentor and successor. Daisaku Ikeda, unlike all of our other mentors, due to the struggles those other mentors already went through in the past, has been able to leave us a diary of his everyday activities in his youthful diary and his now over 30 volumes of the Human Revolution and New Human Revolution. He has shown us exactly how we can overcome anything if we choose. He was able to become more capable than his mentor because he followed the guidance of his mentor to the letter. His mentor, Toda, was able to become better than his mentor, Makaguchi, because he followed Makaguchi's guidance to the letter. The choice is now ours. If we want to rise up to our mentor's expectations and take what he has shown us we can do and what we can become to the next level, for each of us that is our own chosen level in our own chosen direction. The quote that President Ikeda often quotes from the Lotus Sutra, quotes Shariputra, In the beginning I made a vow to make all people equal to me with no distinctions, is the same vow that Nichiren made and Daisaku Ikeda has made. However, Daisaku Ikeda has often shown that this is actually a compounding thing from mentor to successors. We are able to build upon the accomplishments of our mentors so that we can actually surpass their accomplishments. This is the goal of a true mentor, and this has been our mentor's goal. He has opened up so many doors for us, so we can now walk through them and face even greater challenges than he had to face. He has given us the courage to rise to those challenges. When we chant and read his guidance, we will see what our true path is and what obstacles on that path we have to overcome. It's up to us to have the faith and courage to do it. As President Ikeda wrote in To My Young American Friends, quote, "Faith is to fear nothing." Let me take a little drink. Let's vitamin. That's broken Japanese. Broken English. Okay. Recently, a particular Buddhist commentator outside the SGI couldn't understand why Daisaku Ikeda could have been chosen by Dr. Lawrence E. Carter, Dean of Martin Luther King Jr. International Chapel, to stand with the likes of Gandhi and King in the Gandhi King Ikeda exhibit. Though I understand her confusion and her skepticism, as she admits in her questioning, she has no knowledge of what Daisaku Ikeda has been doing for the last 60 years, I feel that actually the question should be, how do Gandhi and King's actions possibly compare to Daisaku Ikeda's? I am one who consider both Gandhi and King as two of my many mentors, and their writings and their actions have encouraged me to lead anti-war marches and to stand up with dignity and courage to baton-wielding Orange County, Los Angeles, and San Francisco police officers in many marches. I have quoted both King and Gandhi in so many of my writings, and I will continue doing so in many more. I will also continue reading their many speeches and writings and studying their history. However, to her question, what has Daisaku Ikeda done? As she says, I spent a large part of yesterday afternoon looking for specific anecdotes, she misspelled it, about something President Ikeda did personally that involved hard effort and sacrifice and came up zip. First of all, she's not going to find by searching the internet what President Ikeda is doing or has been doing for the last 60 years. I told her she'll have to actually pick up his books to find out, which she probably won't ever do. Yes, we can go on and on about many actions Daisaku Ikeda has done that compare with the courage of Gandhi and King, but I think more important are the long-lasting writings he has written, the philosophy of Soka that he has enhanced, and the long-lasting institutions he has created, which will continue growing in the future. I have to also agree with Slavoj Žižek, and I don't know if I say his name right, that, quote, right now our world doesn't need more actions, it needs words, end quote. Many people in the peace movement and in other social justice movements have done a lot of great actions. Most of them were beneficial, but many have not stopped to think enough and write enough and create a lasting philosophy that will really change the world in the way Daisaku Ikeda has. What did Gandhi leave behind? Yes, his over 100 books and his complete writings that were in the library of Soka University of America. They were locked on the 4th floor reading room, last time I looked through them, are really his legacy that will endure, if and when people read them. His philosophy of nonviolence is being followed by many protesters around the world. Yes, his Salt March and his many fasts and other protests did cause India to become independent of Great Britain, only to be broken in half and both countries to become pawns of international corporations and corrupt native politicians. Unfortunately, Gandhi didn't live at a time where he could build a worldwide organization that can carry on his philosophy. And the Gandhi that most people know in the general public is a very watered-down version of the real Gandhi, who, as he said, quote, dared to think out loud, end quote. Equally, Martin Luther King's message and his actions helped spur so much change in relationship to people of color and people who suffered discrimination for other differences. But much of his message has been watered down by people who want to turn his message into feel-good, let's all get along fluff. His real revolutionary speeches against the war in Vietnam, which really led to his assassination, have been all but overlooked by the majority of people who often quote his speeches and claim they knew who he was or what he did. Yes, Daisaku Ikeda has faced assassination attempts, like the sarin gas attack on the SGI headquarters that backfired on the Aum Shinrikyo van. See the book Holy Terror, Armageddon in Tokyo by D.W. Brackett to find out more about that, or Brackett. But like Nichiren, fortunately, it was his mission to survive that and other failed attempts at his life. I guess if he were to have been killed by his many enemies, some skeptics may think, okay, now we can celebrate his memory. And yes, he faced angry protests in Japan at the airport on his first return from China and Russia. He endured false imprisonment, only to be fully exonerated years later. But if he had not gone through any of those difficulties and others, it wouldn't make him one bit less or more important as a person who has contributed to challenging the world drastically. The difference with Daisaku Ikeda is we, his successors, who are going to engrave his philosophy in our lives, and we are going to be examples of his philosophy in action all over the planet as we are now. Our lives are going to be, quote, true pictures of Kozenrufu, end quote, as Daisaku Ikeda writes. We, the millions of bodhisattvas of the earth, who realize that Daisaku Ikeda is, as Dean Carter says, quote, embodying the philosophy of both Gandhi and King in his life, end quote, are going to continue actualizing his mission, which is our mission, long into the future, and we are going to turn this muddy swamp of the latter day of the law into a beautiful lotus garden, where, as King says, quote, white boys and girls can sit down at the table of brotherhood and sisterhood, end quote. I added the sisterhood. The true greatness of our mentor can only be fully exhibited in the actions of his successors. Yes, because of many revolutionaries like Gandhi, Makaguchi, and King, who sacrificed their lives, we all have much more freedom now to carry on a greater legacy, and we must always be thankful to those heroes. But Daisaku Ikeda proves that we don't have to lead a Salt March or a civil rights or anti-war or anti-Vietnam march, though those are very important, to make a big difference in the world. We normal people doing what may appear to be normal things to outside spectators are really the underground currents that are rippling out to change the world now and into the future. Thanks a lot. Bye-bye.